You are listening to Unstoppable Actors, the essential podcast for ambitious, unknown actors with me, Louise, the artistic director of Standby Method Acting Studio. And for the last 13 years, I've been taking unknown actors with blank CVs all the way to Netflix dramas, Amazon Prime films, TV soaps, and stage plays around the world. And every week I'll be talking with you and sharing how you can become a paid working unstoppable actor, because you 1000% can. An acting career is doable. Are you ready to dive into the episode? Hello everyone, welcome to Unstoppable Actors. If you're brand new here, a really big welcome to you, and I'm so excited to have you here. I hope this is going to be the first of many episodes that you will listen to. And if you are one of our long-term followers, and I know some of you have been listening for 2, 3, 4 years, then welcome back. We've got a really good episode for you today. But before we get started, if you are an actor, whether you're a new actor or an early career actor, and you want to deepen your character work, you want to stop overthinking your performances, and you want to actually feel connected in the scenes consistently, not just some of the time, but all of the time, I have put together for you a free method acting toolbox. And it's incredible. It's packed with loads and loads of practical character exercises that you can use right away. And these exercises are the kind that help you get out of your head, they help you stop overthinking, and they help you get into real, believable character behaviour. You can go ahead and download it at tinyurl.com/method toolbox. That's tinyurl.com/method toolbox, or simply hit the link underneath where you've hit play. And I am also going to be dropping some little challenges and some little method acting exercises inside of our Unstoppable Actors Facebook group. So definitely come and join us there if you want to practice this stuff in real time. And for now, we are going to get started. We're going to be talking about something that I see all the time with actors right at the very beginning of their journey, and that is confusion. But more specifically, it's confusion around method acting myths that simply refuse to die. They do the rounds in the industry all the time. Sometimes they die down, but lo and behold, they will rear their ugly heads again, and then they'll die down, and then they'll come back round. And yeah, it's just never ever ending with these method acting myths. And I wanted to have a good deep dive into them today. But before I do, I want to share something from one of my students who is currently training inside of the 10-week method acting module, Acting for Camera. And this comes from Adam. So Adam is a new actor, and before he auditioned for the 10-week method acting module, he'd done a screen performance, and he didn't have lots and lots of experience behind him. And I guess that's one of the things that I hear a lot is, to do method acting, do you need to have a lot of experience? Do I need to have done loads of films? And the answer is no. Anybody can learn method acting. It's actually simpler than what the industry makes it sound, which we'll be diving into a bit more today. But he sent a message saying, I've had so much fun doing this course so far, and I've learnt so much. I came in having not much idea what to expect, as I'd never done an acting lesson before, and I am blown away by how many new tools I've been able to take away already. I've noticed that doing the methods chair relaxation exercise every day is really improving my ability to focus, even though some days I don't feel I perform that well at it. I'm noticing on a daily basis that my mind is finding it easier to concentrate, not just on the exercise, but everyday tasks as well. I also feel my body is holding less tension through daily life too. The prep work is challenging at times for me, but I enjoy doing it, which is a first for me because I always used to dread doing any time of homework. I'm really grateful for everything. Isn't that just incredible? I'm so proud of Adam and the rest of the actors on the 10-week method acting module, the Acting for Camera one, because they are really stretching out of their comfort zones and their acting is improving week on week on week on week. It's like they're completely different actors to the ones who walked in week 1. And I think we're on week 6 now. Yeah, they're just totally different. And I absolutely love seeing transformations like that. But what I really love about Adam's message is just how quickly actors start to feel the shift when they stop guessing and start working with a really clear process that's been laid out for them. So thank you, Adam, for sending that message. And let's get into today's episode then, because method acting has a bit of a reputation, doesn't it? And if I'm being honest, some of it is helpful and some of it is wildly, and I mean wildly misunderstood. So let's dive into these method acting myths then that just point blank refuse to die. So myth 1 is that you have to stay in character all of the time, 24/7. And this is probably the most famous myth. Now, people often imagine method acting means you can never break character, that you have to live as the character 24/7. And sometimes this gets linked to stories from A-list actors such as Daniel Day-Lewis being pushed around in a wheelchair between takes whilst he was playing Christy Brown in My Left Foot. And depending on who you ask and who you talk to about this, people either call that, genius commitment or completely unnecessary. And everybody's got an opinion on it. But here is the truth. There is absolutely no rule in method acting that says you must stay in character all the time. None. Not one. Some actors choose to. Some actors choose to immerse in this way as part of their process, and others don't. Other method actors don't do that. And what really matters is not how extreme your process looks, but is whether it actually helps your performance or not. So if you want to be the actor that stays in character 24/7 and doesn't break, go ahead, do it, as long as it helps your performance. And if you're not that actor, you're happy to break character, that's fine. It doesn't mean anything about you. It doesn't mean you're lesser of an actor. I don't stay in character 24/7, but what I do is I use my method acting exercises before the scene starts to get me back into that place. So let's go on to myth number 2 then. Myth number 2 is that you have to do everything the character does in real life. And this is another big one, especially when it comes to those darker or more extreme roles. There's this idea that if you're, for example, playing an addict, you have to become an addict. Or if you're playing someone violent, then you've got to recreate violence. And I want to be very clear here. This is not what method acting teaches, because in actual fact, that approach can be really unsafe, unnecessary, and unhelpful. So I want to tell you a quick story. Years ago, some of my acting students created a short film about drug addiction, and we held a premiere at the cinema, and we did a Q&A afterwards. And at the end, somebody from the audience stood up and they said, "My daughter's in this film. Are you encouraging her to take drugs so she can understand what it's like to be a drug addict? Are you encouraging her to become a drug addict?" I honestly wasn't expecting that question, so I was a little bit shocked when I heard it. But then I realised, well, that question's not come out of nowhere, because that's what people think method acting is. And the honest answer is no, absolutely not. We do not need to replicate harmful behaviour to understand a character. There are so many ways to build imagination and to build understanding. We can watch documentaries. We can speak to people with lived experience. We can research environments and social conditions. We can even reflect on our own lives. Because if we are completely honest with ourselves, most of us already understand forms of addiction in some way anyway. For some people, it is substances. For others, it's their phone. That is the biggest cause of addiction in the modern world. For others, it's control. controlling others. For others, their addiction is validation, or for others, their addiction is approval. Addiction isn't always dramatic. It can be things like shopping. Addiction is actually very, very human. And one of the big things about method acting is actually looking into your own life and going, how do I know this on some level? Not necessarily changing your entire life just to play a character. And then we come to myth number 3, which is a follow-on from the last one. And that is that method acting means losing yourself in the role. And this is honestly one of the biggest fears I hear from new actors. What if I get stuck? What if I lose myself? What if it affects me emotionally? What if it affects my mental health? And good method acting actually does the complete opposite. It does not remove you from yourself. It gives you structure and a blueprint and a process to explore the character safely. You are always you, despite what you might think about method acting, and you are always in control. You're always in control of yourself, and you're always in artistic control. Because the work in method acting is about imagination, empathy, and curiosity, not self-erasure. And I want to make that completely clear, because we work with a framework called the method acting triangle, which has 3 points on it. They are relaxation, concentration, imagination. Nowhere on that triangle does it say, oh, point 1 is lose yourself in the character. Point 2, move away from yourself. It's not that. So these things that you're hearing in the industry, if you've heard them, are complete myths and rumours, and usually they are shared by people who are quite ignorant towards method acting. They've not actually experienced it themselves, or they've had a bad acting coach who has pushed them too far, who was actually not properly trained in method acting. We've got a myth number 4 as well, which is that there's one right way to do it when it comes to method acting. And if I am being completely honest, this one quietly destroys early career actors because they think there is a correct method acting process that they should follow, and if they don't follow a step on it, they're getting it wrong. Well, there isn't. There are principles, but not rigid rules. Method acting is fundamentally about training your imagination, training your focus, training your ability to get in control of your instrument, which is your body, and it's about asking questions that aren't obvious. It's about curiosity. It's about exploration. It's about opening up the world of the character so something real can emerge. And when you do it well, you start thinking, oh, I know this feeling. Or, oh my gosh, I've seen this before. Or, wow, I understand this. Because what we do well in method acting is we get to know ourselves. We ask the question, who am I? Who am I, the actor? Because when we ask that question and we have self-exploration, we then know what we've got available to lend to the character and their circumstances. And that, my friends, is the doorway into the truth. Because not everything has to be extreme to be real. Method acting is portrayed as this really extreme process, and it's really, really not. And so many of my acting students are actually quite surprised by what we do in the classes. They had this whole idea of what method acting would be, and then they realise it's not that because they've bought into the rumours and the myths. So let me bring this back into something practical. A few years ago, well, a lot of years ago, I played a sex worker in a film with Stephen Graham. Did I go and become that person in real life? Did I decide, oh, well, my character's a prostitute, a sex worker, so therefore I must become one? No. Did I try to live their life day to day? No. What I did do instead is observe. That formed my character research. I went to places in the city I was living in at the time where I knew I would see parts of that world, parts of the sex worker world. And I watched from a distance, and I took a friend with me and I paid attention to what I was seeing. At that time in my life, I really did want to approach these sex workers and have a conversation with them and find out what their life was like. But I wasn't ready to do that because I was quite young and I was like, I don't really know what's going to happen. Am I safe even though I've got my friend with me? So I respected my own boundary and I just didn't do it. I just watched them from afar without making it obvious I was watching them. What I also did is I watched documentaries on sex work and I gathered fragments of understanding from different places, because that is what character work often is. It's fragments that we find from different places, not always full truths, but it's enough to start building belief and combine that research with your imagination and with the circumstances in the script. And then what I also did is I started asking better questions to open up my imagination, to open up my curiosity, to open up my character research. And I started asking questions like, what has made this character believe this is the only way they can live their life right now? And also I started asking, what are they trying to survive? Those two questions alone will completely change the way you approach a role, because suddenly you stop judging the character and you start understanding them. And that is where empathy begins. You strengthen that empathy muscle. And when you can empathise, that is where truth starts to emerge. And then your performances start changing for the better. That is how you make your next performance your best performance yet. So we are going to be putting some of these things to the test. So what we're going to be doing next in the upcoming 10-week method acting module this summer is we're going to go even deeper into this process. You will be stepping into the life of a real person from history. How exciting. This means you're not just imagining anymore, you're researching, you're piecing together evidence, you are learning how to think like a detective of human behaviour. And it is one of the most loved modules that we run, and it only comes around once every 4 years. Now, we don't currently have applications open for it just yet, but I will let you know as soon as they do open. So before we finish, here is something that you can try immediately. Pick a character you're working on or find a character to work on and ask these 2 questions. What might this person be trying to survive emotionally? And what experiences could have led them to believe this is their only option? Don't rush to answer this perfectly. Just explore. Let your imagination fill in the gaps. Let your curiosity open up, because that is the work. And if you want more exercises like this, then come into the Unstoppable Actors Facebook group, where I'm going to be posting some short character bios for you to practice with. And also don't forget, you can go and download the free Method Acting Toolbox, and you can get it at tinyurl.com/method toolbox, or hit the link underneath where you've hit play. Go and use it, use all the exercises in that toolbox, play with it, let it loosen you up creatively, because acting isn't about getting it right. You have to get that out of your head. It's about getting it real enough that you stop thinking about it at all and start living through this person. See you in the next episode. I've absolutely loved hanging out with you, and I really hope you found this episode inspiring. If you have, please do rate the podcast and hit follow so you never miss an episode, and I can help more actors like you. And come and join one of the most supportive, uplifting acting communities on socials, the Unstoppable Actors Facebook group, where you'll get your weekly injection of inspiration, networking, and receive your free Method Actors handbook so you can become an unstoppable actor.